Welcome to our webinar, and we are having Professor Ebba OSSIANNILSSON. And how are you, Ebba? Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm very, very fine, and it's my pleasure to be together here with you. So thank you very much, Professor Dr. Gonca for the invitation.
Is everything okay in Sweden, Lund?
Yes, it is more or less. Of course, we are affected a lot by the pandemic as everyone else. But as you may know, we took another strategy in my country from the beginning. And that means we don't have any lockdown in that sense, but we have social distancing and not being together with other people, as just those you know, and to be in your own bubble, so to say, and to have a very high level of hygiene and to stay at home. But schools has been opened more or less all the time, and shops, although they close a bit earlier now, but the society is not as in lockdown as it has been in many countries, but it is still that when you're out, there are very, very few people outside.
I see. We are full closure and we are all locked down nowadays in Turkey. And actually, these webinars are adding color to life. And we are very happy to be with you. And today we are going to discuss transhumanism and educational leadership with you. Ebba is a friend of mine, and our paths crossed with distance education. But first, I would like to introduce Ebba to all of you. She's a professor in innovation and open online learning. She's an independent expert, quality reviewer, and researcher in the field of open and distance learning. She is the 5th president of the Swedish Association for Distance Education and a board member in Job and Skills Coalition Sweden. In short, she is an important expert in the subject, and she is in several executive committees of online learning associations, and she also works for the European Commission, UNESCO, COL, and ITCILO. And I'm so excited to have you in this webinar. And could you tell us about transhumanism, because one of your recent book chapter has named Transhumanism and Innovative Leadership, and what's this all about? We are very curious to learn this subject. The stage is yours.
So thank you very, very much. It is my great pleasure to be here together with you and to share some of my experiences about this very, very interesting topic about transhumanism and educational leadership. And thank you so much again for the kind invitation. Yes, I have done a lot of research in this field for many, many years, and for the, as you started to say, also this webinars and those online conferences are some kind of some kind of bonus, so to say, in this time where we are in the pandemic and some countries are locked down. And actually, I think I have more or less each week done some kind of webinars or conferences with different kind of topics on my research, and this is one of them. So we have plenty of time, and I will share some of my thoughts about and insights about this topic, and I hope we can also have discussions and some questions going on.
Yes, it's fine. It's all right.
Yeah. So I will get started. I will not read about that anyway. I will not require that you're reading it, but I have just said to Gonca that I used to have my short bio always in my slides nowadays, because if people are looking at it afterwards, it may be good to see in which kind of context this presentation is about and who have done it. So exactly what you were saying, I contributed to this book about administrative leadership and open and distance learning programs, edited by colleagues by you, maybe I don't pronounce it right, Boyuk, and Serpil Krostar and Aras Buskert. And it was a great pleasure to work on this, because at that time, it was published in 2017. At that time, it was a rather new topic. Maybe not new, but the concept was started to get more familiar and more used, and also what is it really about. So I had the pleasure to contribute with the chapter, and actually I was asked by the editors to contribute, and they knew me, so they knew that I was very keen about quality and also about leadership. So my chapter was about leadership in a time when learners take the ownership of their learning. Just last year or this year, I got a request by IDEA Global that the chapter should be republished in an anthology, because they found it of interest. So that anthology is about transhumanism and innovative leadership, a question of quality. My chapter was about transhumanism and innovative leadership, a question of quality, because that is how I see it. And the book title was about research anthology on digital transformation, organizational change, and the impact of remote work. So that was published in 2021. This year. So the chapter was somewhat edited, but it built from the previous one. And of course, I was very happy that it was republished, because it is a very hot topic. So again, it's a pleasure for me to be here to share my ideas with you. So first of all, what are we talking about and why it is important? Now, I do a lot of keynotes and a lot of conference presentations and a lot of publishing, and I always have as a foundation the SDGs from the United Nations and the UNESCO, because that is our overall umbrella, whatever we are doing, whatever kind of topic we are dealing with, especially in education. And as you know, we have this SDG 4, especially directed to education, because education for all is important. And that had to be reached in 2030. And there is a lot more to do about that. And that is why this topic is so important as well. And as we also know, it is not just the SDG 4, but the education has an impact at more or less all of the other SDGs. Either a direct impact, or some that the innovative innovation is fostering, or that it will lead to achieve the rest of the SDGs. And I think I found also, when we're talking about our topic about transhumanism and about online learning and open learning, it is much more easier for the audience to understand why it is important and why we have to care and why it matters. I also always talk about the futures of education, another initiative from UNESCO and United Nations. I think you maybe have heard about it, and that goes beyond the SDGs. It is about learning to become, and it's shifting perspectives, not just what our universities are offering, but what are needed out there. What are the needs of the learners, the requirements of the learners, and from the society and from the employers, because the institutions and universities have to be more collaborative on that, not just offering what they think is their good research or their good things, what they would like to offer, but what is really needed, what are the demands, and to collaborate with the rest of the society. So this is a global initiative to reimagine how knowledge and learning can shape the futures of humanity and the planet. And as you see, it is in plural, the futures, because there's not just one futures, there are many. And now during the pandemic, they have initiated 9 ideas for public actions, and I will not go through it. You can find it on the webpage, but there are 9 public actions which are important. They are also working with that approach, that they have a bottom-up approach, so you can take part as an individual, as an institution, to this initiative, they have a public consultation with the surveys, with workshops, with focus groups, and now recently, actually, that consultation ended at the last day of April. They had a new consultation about what was coming up from the last year, what people were talking about and thinking about the futures of education. But briefly, it takes the other perspective from the learners, and the learners to become what they are the best at, and what they would like to perform, what they would like to do, to be an active citizen in a global society. Not just to have a degree from XYZ university. So the initiative is, as I said, to reimagine knowledge and learning and how we can shape the future of humanity and the planet. And that is very, very urgent and very, very important. Another initiative is this one about the lifelong learning platform. Because lifelong learning, as you know, that is included in the SDG 4, because learning nowadays is not just about having a degree. It is about learning throughout the lifespan. And the concept with micro-learning and micro-credentials and this kind of things, it's not just because it's cool, it is because it's needed. Because people have to learn and to get validated for what they have achieved. And the universities, in my opinion, are not ready for this, because they are ready for bachelor, master and PhD. And that is, of course, good and important, but that is not everything what education is about. In Europe, you know, we have this digital action plan, education action plan recently adopted for 21-27, with two different kind of strategic priorities, both about fostering the development of high-performing digital educational ecosystem. And why I choose to mention this is because they are talking about an ecosystem. It's not just, you know, just about the education, the learning, the infrastructure, the LMS, the assessment, the whatever. It is an ecosystem, and that involves also many different kind of stakeholders. So as you see, it is about infrastructure, connectivity, digital equipment, about capacity building, of course, and high quality content and user-friendly tools, etc. And it's also about digital competences for a digital transformation. It's not just because of it's cool to have digital competences, to know the latest high tech. It is because of the digital transformation and to be part of that. And also to not leave anyone behind. Another important background which matters is about the fourth industrial revolution, which was known already and mentioned at the World Economic Forum in 2016. Because the digital transformation and the Industry 4.0 also requires, of course, a curricula and an educational system 4.0. And we are not there yet. That is why this is important for this webinar is so important. Because the fourth industrial revolution changed the ways in which we live, work, learn, and relate to one another, how we communicate, how we perform, how we communicate with each other, how we relate to each other, and even nowadays, quite often, at least in my country, how we make relationship and friendship. I will say that, not I, but it is said that 50% of the population in my country, I think that is for many other countries as well, make their love relationship to this kind of platforms like Tinder, etc. And that is another way of making contacts, making relationship, making friends, and also of course for the working life. So it is more. It's not just about the technology-driven change and opportunities, but it is what is more important is about that it is need an integration of a social ethical revolution. Because I mean, the tech is nice, but we are people, we are humans. we have to perceive the natural issues of being a human being. So it needs a social ethical revolution as well. And that's again come back to why this topic is so important. The OECD also acknowledge not just that we need to have knowledge and skills, which makes our competencies, but also very much about our attitudes and values. And sometimes maybe those are the largest barriers for the transformation. I mean, I'm sure you as well. I see at many places as people maybe say, oh, just if we got this kind of elements, or just if we have that tech system, or just if we have that, everything will get changed and everything will be so much better. But the attitudes and values are maybe the most important. And we have also seen that, not at least during the pandemic, that what happened back in 2020 in March, more or less all kind of education went online to distance education. And that was fine. But what not so fine was that they just copied and pasted more or less what they had offline to online and didn't care about attitudes and values, neither for the students, neither for the staff, neither for anyone else. So again, you see the personal, the local, and the global, and the societal attitudes and values. And of course, that is very difficult and very hard to change something, because if you are going to change something, you have to say no to something you know and are comfortable with, and to say yes to something which you maybe are not so comfortable with. You have to go outside your comfort zone. So that was a brief background why it is important and why this topic is so hot for the moment. So what is transhumanism? Of course, there are many kind of definitions about it, and for some people it's maybe a strange concept. For some people it is very, very natural. But in brief, it is about a philosophical movement, the prominence of which advocate and predict the enhancement of the human condition by developing and making widely available sophisticated technologies able to greatly enhance longevity, mood, and cognitive abilities. So again, it goes back to the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It has changed the way we learn, the way we live, the way we perform, the way we communicate, the way we relate, etc., etc. So the core of the transhumanism is to encourage the use of biotransformative technologies in order to enhance the human organism. It is not to replace, it is about enhance, with the ultimate aim being to modify the human organism to radically as to overcome fundamental human limitations. So that's why also this topic is important, because some people are maybe a bit scary. Shall robots take over my job? Shall robots take over everything? What will be the leftover for me? That is not the case. It is how it can enhance and also work side by side, because that will be the case now and in the future. I took the opportunity to take this model because this SAM model by Puententura is a very famous and well-known pedagogical approach about transformation. What was happening due to the pandemic was very much about substitution, as I just said. Much of the material, much of the lessons, much of the course, etc., just went online instead of offline. And it was done more or less in the same way as it was done on offline. So that's it about substitution. If you really would like to transform, you have to go many, many steps further on. More to modification and more to redefinition, which is the highest step. It is important to think about this model when we're talking about this topic, because technology is there to support, to enhance, but also that maybe we can do something which we couldn't do without technology. As Gonca was saying, I work very much about quality and quality-related issues, and that is very, very much important. And quite often I got to ask the question, so what is quality in online learning? What is quality in transhumanism? What is quality in that? And of course, that is a very complicated question, because quality is in the eye of the beholder. But nevertheless, there are many different kind of models about quality. And I myself did research with ICDE, the International Council for Open and Distance Education, some years ago, where we surveyed over 40 plus quality models around the globe. And more or less all of them had the same kind of structure, the same kind of, at least message, the same kind of features, the same kind of benchmarks, the same kind of quality domains. And this one is one of them from the European Commission, from the Joint Research Center, and they express 10 dimensions which need to be, again, about the ecosystem, the holistic approach. You can't just talk about technology, for example. You can't just talk about pedagogy. You need to see how it is integrated and involved. And as you see, there are four balls in the corner, and that is they are the transversal quality dimensions, like leadership. And I have this explained this more in my chapter in this book, which we talked about. So leadership and strategy and technology and quality are the four transversal dimensions. And they have an influence in between them, but have also an influence and impact on the 6 other ones, which are about content. And in content is included not just the subject content, but also, for example, OER, this kind of things, about pedagogy, about recognition and validation, collaboration, research, and access. So, of course, leadership has an impact on what kind of pedagogy or andragogy or heterogogy you are choosing at your institution, and what kind of content you promote. For example, are your institution promoting open education resources and open access materials? That is really a leadership question. And leadership has also an impact on what kind of quality measures you and monitoring and evaluation processes you are using. So you see, it is very much together. And when we're talking about leadership, it is very important to not just see leadership as some kind of managerial habits or performance, but how it really has an impact at all different kind of layers and levels and other kind of matters like this. I like this very much because it's so simple and it's a simple image, so it's easy to remember. Leadership is also very much about to look at smart learning, not just as disruptive, but how it is enhanced and more or less, I would not say just disruptive, but I will more say how it is accelerated and developed. We all know that in many areas in the society, there has been a lot of disruptions, for example, in the music and in books, in films. We have Netflix, we have Spotify, we have Amazon, we have Uber, a lot of these kind of things. And you can just have an app and you can buy food from all over the places, and then they come home to you. And also during the pandemic, it has really changed because you can access a lot of things from home in a way you couldn't do just a year ago, for example. So education also have to embrace the smart learning approach with, for example, the user-generated media to take care of what students and learners are doing, to bring your own devices. And we have also seen that, for example, during the pandemic, many households around the world, they have been sitting in a small flat in one room and just have maybe one phone, and that should be used for parents which are maybe unemployed and for all the siblings who are doing their school at home and all these kind of things. but everything is done by your own devices nowadays. And then we have the mobile learning, of course, and the whole area of openness, which also was the issue of the previous image I showed you. Oh. Something else happened with my mouse. That was why I was disrupted. So yeah. I have also written in this chapter about further on about how to develop the ecologies of smart learning and the relationship with smart learning environments, and smart cities, which I just talked about. When we talk about smart learning, it is very much about just-in-time and just-for-me learning, and that goes again back to, if we look at the initiative from the UNESCO, the Learning to Become, it is more or less more and more the individual perspectives which we have to take note on, because that is about motivation and internal and external motivation, about needs, and not at least about the joy of learning. So how can we make smart learning available? And again, that is very much a leadership question, if we go back to this model I just showed, because how the organization very much a leadership question, and how that is embedded within all the sectors, with all the units, but not at least with all the humans who are working there. And then, of course, we have the smart learning environment, and that is very much about any time and any place, any manner, any pace, about data mining, about effective, efficient, and engaging, about intelligent tutoring, about learning analytics, which we can learn a lot about. And then, of course, the smart cities, because the institution is not a single silo, it is embedded in the society. So it also have to respond to the society's needs, but also to be in the forefront for building a smart city and for building a smart society. So to succeed in this area of new trends and emerging new technologies, it's very much about a trusting relationship and focus on return on investment. So there are some, if you look at the literature and by research, there are some recommendations to survive in this word. First of all, it is, of course, about understand the audience, and translated to maybe educational settings, we have to learn our learners. I'm not sure we always do that, and that has also been very, very explicit during the pandemic, because that has not fully been understood. As I just mentioned this example, for example, a family sitting in one room flat with unemployed parents, with a lot of siblings, with one mobile, and they can't go out. How can they survive? Does really teachers and the school understand what that means with that family? How is it possible for them to learn and how to survive? And then there are other examples. Maybe some have to go out somewhere to the roof of a building, because that is the only place where they have internet. So we can't just trust that everything should be on internet. We have to learn to know our learners. And then also, of course, we have to review the social media marketing strategy, and everything is, so rapidly spread with the social media. And also, of course, all the ethical aspects, to not just trust everything which are on social media, but to be critical what is there, but also to use the benefits, because you can have a reach out which you couldn't have before. And of course, about allocate time and budget for new tools, but not just for the new tools and technology, but to really allocate time and budget for people who should work with those new tools and systems, because that is really, really lacking. And especially if you use systems which are not integrated with each other. And I think you, as me, very often hear that staff and teachers and staff at institutions, they say that they don't have the time to learn all the new systems, and they just get overloaded, and then they just quit about it because they get fed up. Allocate time for capacity building. And also start simple, works with focus what works. And strive to build a trust within the users in every campaign you are doing. Build trust. It is about ambassador, it's about advocacy. And trust is maybe the most hard currency we have nowadays. So to meet the challenges of transhumanism, there are urgent needs for people who have the knowledge, abilities and competences and attitudes to lead the process, and also to analyze and evaluate the digital work environment. So you need to have people at leadership level who can, even if they can't make it maybe themselves, they need to understand why it is so important. And that is also very much about leadership nowadays. It's just not just, one person who are the leader. We are leaders, all of us. So you need to surround yourself about people who can understand this, because otherwise you will never go forward, because this area is so quick and rapidly developed. So if you don't really understand what it is, you will be lacking behind. But of course, you have to carefully analyze and evaluate the consequences of transhumanism. It is said by Lawrence Taylor, for example, that there are 7 ways the world will change by 2030, which have to transhumanism to deal with. Our bodies will be augmented. Our thought processes will be faster and more transferable. Gamification and behavioral science will increase human productivity. We will be more empathetic. We will see the emerge of extreme personalization and customization. And business practices will shift significantly. It has already done, not at least during the pandemic, as I just mentioned, because everything had to be online and you have to buy everything online, for example. And conversations has also changed focus more to societal values, and that will gain attention. So again, it is not just about a technological revolution, it is about a social revolution. I will not stay too long with this slide, but just to mention, we all know that there are globally so many really demanding challenges, and those are used to be mentioned, like globalization, like climate change, like individualism, like digitalization, like demographic changes, and converging technologies. And to be a leader or a leadership team, you, as I said before, you really need to team up with colleagues who can understand this emergency and this shift. And the winner will be the agile and the responsive to changing the circumstances. It is also said by research that it has been for long, but it is more clear than ever now, again since 2020, that we are working in at least 4 workspaces. And also that time and space has really changed the environments for us. The 4 spaces are the offices, but the offices will maybe not be as they were before March 2020. The offices will be different to get people there. We will maybe not sit there for doing our computer work, but they will bring other things. We have the working place at home. We have the working place in the society, and we have the digital working environment as we have right now. But also we have differences in time. We have the asynchronous time, the synchronous time, but also working in different kind of time zones. I myself, for example, I'm chairing an advocacy committee on open education resources by the ICDE, the International Council for Open and Distance Education. And we have ambassadors from all over the globe in all regions, from Brazil, Canada to New Zealand. And just today I was going to set up a meeting. And it's not very easy because, no one will work all night if they can avoid it. But I managed that some have to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning and some need to have the meeting at 11 o'clock p.m. But at least it is more or less like daytime. But that will also change our way of working due to the transhumanism. But maybe most of all, we will get some new friends and some new peers and some new working colleagues. Like this, for example. And we already quite often get this question, I'm not a robot. But we will have robot as friends, as working mates, as collaborators. That goes again back to not just the technology as such, but about our values and norms and attitudes. How we will succeed about that. So there are some real questions. I don't have the answers, but there are questions which are important. One is this about if Google can teach us more or less everything, and that is the case nowadays. We can find more or less everything there. What is really the role of education? And that goes back to the topic for the webinar today about transhumanism. What shall education and learning look like? And how can we take the learners' perspectives? And how can learners be motivated to learn during the lifespan, during the whole lifetime with lifelong learning? So we really have to see what has changed and what are the differences which we face today with and through transhumanism. One answer is, from my side, talking about leadership, as this is the topic for today. Be the leader you want to have, because we are all leaders. And one person or one entity or whatever can't change everything, but all of us can be part of the change. So be the leader you want to have and act and perform and behave and have attitudes according to that. And also another thing, leaders don't create followers. They create more leaders. And also be the leader you have to make people want to follow. Or maybe to be together with you, I will rather say, than nobody who wants to know where they are going. So being a leader, you need to know where to go, and that's what I had in one of my slides, that it is very, very important for the leader to be aware of all those global changes, about the rapid development, about transhumanism, to see the potential, the possibilities, the opportunities, but also maybe to see the pitfalls. So I will stop with that, and thank you very much for your attention, and I will be very, very happy to discuss further on with you.
Thank you very much, Ebba. It's a great presentation for us. First, you started with the impact of the remote working because of the COVID-19. So we really concern education has an impact of life, and after COVID-19 we have seen that the life has an impact on education. So this makes a kind of crisis management to all of us, all around the world, not only Sweden or not only Turkey or not only in Brazil, as you mentioned, but it makes understanding more about open education and e-learning subjects. But this is important for me that you mentioned. You said the same. You have the same thoughts of me actually, because we just made it like a cut and paste, and it's not a shift. It's a cut and paste thing. Yeah. But it is not actually, as our students or professors are seeing that it's not the same, because it gives another option or several options to the learners and to the teacher side, and the change of the person, not only a teacher but a mentor or some other kind of coach or some other kind of types. So another thing is in learning. I mean, you said learning shape the future. Yes, it shapes the future. And when you when one of your slides, you mentioned about augmented things to the human body. It reminds me Elon Musk, and that he mentioned about to put a chip on your head or somewhere else, and it makes a more augmented environment to you. But then you said about not only technology-driven opportunities, but the societal improvements are very important. This means the attitudes and values are changing, and people, the leaders, should think about these attitudes and values. Yeah. I'm totally agree of it, and trust is an important to the technology and to the behavior, because otherwise you cannot manage all the details. You mentioned several details about open learning or e-learning or mobile learning. What type of learning we have? Transhumanist learning, maybe. This can be another option to the learning. But a smart learning approach we face, that's correct. And you told it can be destructive, but on the other hand, it can be constructive. Yeah. It makes several different things and gives way to the society. That's the meaning of leadership, I suppose. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yes, I can't more than agree. As I think I said that also. I mean, of course, you can say it is a disruption, but because it has changed the way, the normal way. If we go to the Uber, for example, or the Netflix or whatever, we were used to go to the cinema to look at the film. We were used to call the taxi and this kind of things, and the taxi was coming, etc., etc. But now it is a total different way to use both film and taxis. And I think, but in education, this kind of disruption hasn't take form yet. I mean, maybe disruption is not the. I'm in conflict for myself because it's not really the right word. But a disruption anyway will change the way we will do things. So that's why I use this metaphor with the fourth industrial revolution as well, because with the technology, it will change, and it has already changed the way we communicate, we perform, we discuss, we relate to each other, and this kind of things, because it is possible and because it has been other kind of ways to do it. But in education, it's very much still the same of the same, which we have seen very much during the pandemic, especially in the beginning. But I can see that some people or some teachers and some academics and also some leaders have now some kind of idea that maybe things can be done different and maybe even in a better way, in a more, I mean, better, what is that? Of course, that is a discussion, of course, but I will say, as you know, I'm working so much international, and I'm sitting in this kind of meetings more or less all the day long and discussing with and have presentations with people in different kind of countries. But I have never seen so much innovation, which I have done during this last year. Because when you are, you know, in some kind of corner, you need to think different. You need to be more innovative. You need, and also you maybe can see that, oh, this was not so bad doing it this way. Maybe this can be some kind of the next normal. And I hear also very, very often, oh, it would be so nice when we can go back to the normal. I will argue that it's not a desire, and I really hope it's not a desire, because that will not happen. I will rather argue that we have to continue from here and now. And of course, take what we have gained, but also to learn the lessons, what maybe have been pitfalls, which we can do better. And I mean, better for who? I mean, not at least for the learners, but also for other stakeholders involved. And I can also see that during the pandemic, for example, it has also been obvious really to see this ecosystem, that there are so many different kind of stakeholders involved in the education, for example. But until now it has been very much in silos. The IT department, the library, the research center, the pedagogical center, etc. But it has to be in this ecosystem. And that is why I like this module from the Joint Research Center, because without this wheel with the 10 dimension, it really shows how things need to be integrated, and that the leadership is a very important issue.
Yes, to integrate all these details and get all the results, or get all the thoughts from them, and to make an integrated opening or integrated way for them. And you mentioned the same kind of quality types in your presentation. And should there be a new solution for quality afterwards?
Yes, that was a very, very good question. So thank you very much for asking this question, because that is one of my favorite questions as a quality researcher. Yes, I really hope that there will be a new quality agenda. Actually, I have been arguing that for many, many years, or at least since I started this area for some maybe 20 years ago, but not at least since I did this research with, which I'm briefly mentioned about, we looked at those 40 plus quality models, and also the research I did when I did my PhD about quality. But I will see, and there is already discussions about about the change discourse about quality, but it's not very easy, because quality, everyone is keen about quality, but no one really knows what quality is or should be. I will argue that first of all, we have many stakeholders. We have the learners, we have the parents, we have the teachers, we have the academics, we have the librarians, we have the society, we have the government, we have, you know, all this kind of stakeholders who have different kind of agendas. Not just that, we have also different kind of levels, which I used to call the nano level, which is about the people. And again, that is about attitude, because quality is actually what you and me are doing when we are meeting the learners. That is quality at nano level. How we discuss, how we perform, how we listen to them. I mean, all this kind of the dialogue. And then we have the micro level, and that is if you take it more like the course as such, for example, or the curricula. And I argue that we need to have have a curricula following the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or preferable what David Cormier, who was the one who coined the concept of the MOOCs, he is saying the society should be the curricula. And I'm saying that as well, because our students are going out to the society and have to be integrated with the society. So we have the micro level, and then we have the meso level, and that is maybe the faculty or the institution. And then we have the macro level, and that is maybe the National Agency for Quality Assurance, or the more at the global level. We have in Europe, we have the ENCA, for example. So we have all those levels as well, and they have to be aligned. And that is not always the case. And I used to say that quality, you hear, I love to speak about this. Quality is not as strong as the weakest chain. So if there's one chain missing, it's bad quality, so to say. And that is why it has to be aligned, and you need to see this ecosystem. Sorry. And also, I thought it was because it was. Sorry for that. But quality is not as strong as the weakest chain. And if there are those different kind of levels and those different kind of stakeholders, it's easy that things are falling between the shares, so to say. So you need to have this ecosystem, and that need to be robust. And not at least it need to be by heart, by head, and by hands.
Yes, that's true. And while you are talking, I thought there's a drip effect of every person. You mentioned you can be the leaders. I believe our students can be leaders.
Absolutely.
And this will make an effect to the whole society.
Absolutely.
So this is so important to understand all the making this alignment. Even in the educational era, we are in the business era, actually. I'm the dean of the Faculty of Economics and Administrative Sciences. So most of my students will work in business era. So this business men and women are going to shape all the business world with this fourth, fifth industrial revolution. So this will be following, maybe not the industrial revolution. It's an information age. So we just jump into the information age after COVID-19. Yes, there were computers. Yes, there were smartphones. Yes, there was something else before COVID-19, but we were not using these devices as much as we can. So now we started to use all these devices and we use all these technologies, but technology usage is one part of it. So this makes even the most qualified technology you can have, if you don't have a mind to use it, if you don't have enough mindset to use it, you cannot just follow any details. And another thing is we can get some other friends like pets or something. These are this makes me, will they be obedient to the humans or not? So that's the question. This might be another question for the one more time to make a webinar or something.
Maybe. I will just briefly come back to the quality issue, because I also wanted to say, I mean, I used to take this example. I mean, as long as the quality assurance, the national quality assurance agencies are asking certain kind of questions, universities are of course responding to that. And what you so they are of course responding to what they are saying, because otherwise they will fail or come out from the system. And of course, faculties are delivering what the universities are asking for, and departments are delivering what the faculties are asking for. And teachers are delivering what the program director is asking for. And in the end of the day, the students are delivering what is coming on the test. So as long as we have this kind of system, there will not be any change. That is the reason why I'm so strongly I'm an advocate for the change of the quality agenda. We need to look much more about such issues like impact for the persons, for the individual, for the staff, for the society. And that's why I started with this broad overview as well. Satisfaction, work with the society, and maybe employment, and this kind of things, and totally different kind of quality parameters, so to say. And I'm sure that I really hope that will happen. And again, everyone who is in favor for change have to argue for that. And maybe we can, like when you take water on a stone, suddenly there will be some change.
It so can be, sometimes a drip water
exactly.
can just break the wall or break the.
So that is also why I imagine that be the leader you want to have, because everyone are leaders in one or another way. And also, I mean, the students are leaders. They are leaders in the group. They are leaders for each other. So, I mean, and really acknowledge them for being the leaders. For your other question about, did you ask about the pets, if they will be our? Yes, I think we have all of us that
will these robots or some transhuman things will be the obedient material, or shall we be the obedience? I don't know.
I think many of us know Stephen Downes, and when he give his webinar, he always has his cats jumping on the keyboard, and I can also see quite many when we are meetings. People have the dogs and the cats or their birds or whatever they have. I mean, and that was also what I was saying. I mean, our working places has changed so much today. We have the offices, and they will be different. We have our home as a working place. And of course, that makes sense.
This is a kind of transhumanism. This is also transformation.
It
because transform from the office to home office. More than 20 years they were talking about these home office systems, but they never care about it. But later on we realized that it can be done. But even you gave an example of the family of 3 siblings, for example. If the mother and father is working ahead online, if there is a student, there must be another device for a student. It's so simple. So this makes to make another system, or to make another type of thought, how you can manage all of these stuff if they don't have enough rooms at home.
That's why I argue very much. We have to learn to know our learners, and I'm very, very confident that this is really not the case nowadays. We take the cohort, the group. This is my class. This is my group, and we think they are more or less looking the same, but they are not. Or maybe they are the same kind of age, but I mean that is not even true, and especially if we're talking about lifelong learners. I mean, maybe I would like to stress as well about one thing about leadership. I think I did, but it can't be stressed enough, and that is about involvement. One of the most important things is about not just about trust, but also about involvement. And I used to take as an example, I work as a quality reviewer for many of the international organizations, and I've done quality reviews 2 times at University of Tabukas in Indonesia. And they have 500,000 of students all over the islands on 1,700 islands. And I have never ever been at a university or a place where I felt we talked about we were there two times, two different reviews and different years, and we talked to 2 students, alumni, teachers, all the staff, everyone, and also on the islands. And I have never ever been at a place where everyone had what I was saying, the quality agenda in their hands, by their heart, and in their head. Everyone was exactly knowing what was going on at the university. You know, quite often we hear that, no, that is not my department, it is another department, I don't know, we have had a reorganization, I'm rather new here at the positions, I don't know. I mean, we never ever I heard that. And that is a leadership question, because that is about trust and involvement and encouragement.
Yes, it's a great ending words, I suppose, because our time is over. Thank you very much. We are so glad to have you here with us. And it was a very fruitful webinar to all of our students and staff. And thank you very much. And I'm going to send you a thanks letter for it. And it was so great to have you. And I hope to see you in other webinar, and have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thanks again for the invitation. My slides are on SlideShare, and thank you very much, and hopefully you can collaborate more in the future. Take care, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.